Dave, are we live now?
You are live.
Hello, friends. How are you doing? It's good to see you. Steve here. I am flying solo today. Mike is somewhere out in the world doing amazing things, I'm sure. And I'm actually really excited to be here with you today. We're going to talk about securing a job in IT, some like hot skills that are out there in the industry that you should probably be focusing on, and some more cool things that are in the current events. I'm going to wait for people to catch up a little bit, see if anybody that I reckon. Hey, quick hi. Hey, Will, how you doing, bud? Good to see you. I appreciate everybody stopping in and saying hello. I hope everybody's having a great week. I want to actually come in here and show my screen here in a minute. Once I see some responses in chat. Here we go. Howdy. It's good to see you, Ali. Oh, yeah. Thank you for bringing that up, Tulawit. So for those of you that don't know, I am actually, let me go ahead and stop the screen share now. Those of you that don't know, I'm actually doing the Locks of Love program. So I've been growing out my hair. And as Tulawit says, it is getting quite lengthy. I measured it the other day and I think it was like about 5 inches. So I'm almost halfway there. Super excited about that. Hoping maybe I can grow the extra 5 inches by like Christmas. Because that'd be a really cool thing to do for kids around Christmas. All right, good to see everybody. Well, I want to hop right into it today because I'm sure we'll have some late joiners. Let's go ahead and take a look at the screen. Hey, Peace 22. I don't know who you are, but thank you for joining. It's good to see you. I am Steve Nicholson, if we hadn't had a chance yet to meet. I appreciate that. All right, let's take a look at this real quick. I wanted to talk about a couple things that are in the news. First of all, we've all been inundated with AI stuff, OpenAI, and I don't know if anybody caught Google's Bard AI demo the other day. It actually didn't, I think it was actually yesterday maybe. Well, it didn't go too well and immediately tanked Google's stock. But what I found interesting is Microsoft, if you've been paying attention to OpenAI, they've been investors in OpenAI for years, and I think they just increased it again, quite a large sum of money recently. But now Microsoft is actually trying to, instead of trying to compete with Google, right? Because Google's got the SEO and search engine algorithm market pretty much cornered. They decided to bring in a new chat function with OpenAI, which is quite interesting because now when we search, we'll no longer be confined by that language. We'll be confined by our own natural English language, which will enable us to probably get things a little more efficiently. You didn't know a man could do locks of love? Yeah. As long as you get 10 inches is the only requirement. Now, I have to say, honestly, I'm not sure if they don't do like dyed hair or anything, and I do have a little bit of gray. So I don't know if all my hair will be going directly to a child or, you know, somebody senior who, or somebody older who needs it. I can't believe I just inadvertently called myself senior, but yes. But either way, it's a good thing. All right. So anyways, let's get back to Microsoft Bing talking about this. What I want to hear from you guys, have a little discussion here, is how do you think the future of AI will affect the IT industry? Are there any certain trends that you see out there? Anything you're noticing? Anything you're possibly worried about with AI? I know we are kind of, again, inundated with news articles about OpenAI and ChatGPT, but there are dozens upon dozens of AI engines out there, everything from natural language processors like ChatGPT, all the way to things that'll create music and art. I'm sure you guys have seen DALL-E and some of the art it's created. But how do you guys feel about some of the AI that's coming out? Are you worried about it possibly, quote unquote, stealing any positions from the IT workforce? Or do you think it'll just eventually find its place? And I'm going to ask questions, and it's going to be a little weird as I look over for answers, but you created a chatbot with Azure. That's fantastic. Just a standard chatbot, something along the lines of ChatGPT that have a specific function? Or did it just chat like a human? Jobs AI is going to take information technology away. Interesting. Yeah. Okay. So you're kind of deep faking humans there, Reeves. That's pretty interesting. Jobs AI is going to take information technology away. Matt, can you expand upon that as I talk about the next thing? Because I really want to hear your take on why you feel that the jobs that I guess what you're saying is AI is going to completely destroy information technology or going to take the jobs of IT away. Can you expand upon that a little bit? And while we do, let's talk about Rolls-Royce. This is something I never expected to see. We hear a lot about quantum computing these days. I never expected that Rolls-Royce is heavily invested in quantum computing to the point that they actually built their own complete quantum interface, the Rube Goldberg machine, and everything specifically for the sole task of helping them design their airplane and jet plane engines faster and more efficiently. I thought that was pretty interesting as well because, right now there's very few of us in this world that have the ability to get hands-on with quantum, and it is a completely different way of computing than we're used to. The fact that something can exist in two spots at once is a little hard for our brains to process, and the way that these quantum computing machines are going to be set up, if they ever do make it to like the personal computer size, they're going to be completely different than what we're used to now. So I found this really interesting. A lot more companies, rather than just raw data harvesters or data warehousing places or people like IBM or Amazon or whatever, are getting involved in quantum computing and seeing that the effects of it. They've actually already cut down, I think, their production time something like 24% in the first year of implementing this quantum computing engine. So it's quite interesting. AI will always need someone to tweak and improve it until it gets sentient. I think AI is good in general. I agree. You do kind of get into a little bit, and I hate to use the Skynet clause, but when you have an AI that can process human language that well as write code, I mean, at what point do you consider that being sentient? That's my concern. Rolls-Royce does have electric scooters. Yeah, they do. The AI controversy really starts. Yeah, that is true, Peace. That is very true. A lot of people, instead of trying to determine how or why, or how useful or why something like AI can be used, they're more arguing about whether or not the efficacy of it. Oh, it will be useful or won't be useful. Well, instead of arguing about that, let's figure out a way that it can possibly be useful. All right. That's good. I appreciate you guys' thoughts on that topic. And one more thing I want to touch on before we get into the brunt of what we're talking about today is, we've heard in the news lately, if you've been paying attention, there are a ton of jobs that are getting, a ton of people that are getting let go from jobs. Now, my personal theory on this is that the vast majority of this comes from the slowdown during COVID, right? The essentially stopped workforce, people over hiring for that remote workforce. And now as things start to return back to normalcy and there's people returning to offices and all that other stuff, that those positions simply aren't tenable to keep populated. So as well, you have to understand that tech industry has seen, I think overall 10-15% downturn in financials over this past year as well. So the tech market is definitely not immune to layoffs. I think this is probably the most informed we've been about them, which is why there's a lot of hysteria right now in the news about it. I find it horrific. I love you, Dave. It is like the new Wikipedia. You're right, Tolowit. That is excellent. That is an excellent observation. It is like the new Wikipedia, because now anybody can, if you see all that do anything now stuff and that came out, anybody can kind of give it its own subset of programming rules. But a lot of you are here today. A lot of you are interested in CompTIA A+ certification and the Total Seminars training because you want to either break into the IT workforce. Perhaps you want a lateral move in IT. You're in some sort of position. You want to be in a different one, in a different sector within IT, or possibly you're coming from a completely different industry altogether. And so I thought it'd be kind of cool to let's take a look at one of the de facto standards in our industry, which is CompTIA, and see what they think are the top skills to learn. And then maybe we can kind of come up with a plan on the best path forward to obtain a job or getting our feet in the door in the IT industry. And if you look at these skills, I guess I can pull it up to here. We'll just go through them one at a time. CompTIA does a great job of breaking them down into kind of 4 silos here. So development, infrastructure, security, and data. Those are pretty good pillars. I mean, those are pretty good pillars there. I don't think I can improve upon that much. But one of the first ones here in infrastructure is Linux, right? We live in a day and age where cloud computing and virtualization is a huge asset to most businesses. There are a plethora of PaaS, SaaS, and IaaS services, infrastructure as a service, software as a service, platform as a service, virtualized providers out there that will spin up any type of network, any type of Active Directory, any type of all that stuff that you need and have it deployed and ready for you. However, you still got to maintain those servers and those machines, and a lot of that stuff on the back end comes down to Linux. So Linux is one of the top infrastructure skills for CompTIA, and honestly, you should, if you're going for your A+, your Net+, Security+, if you're doing that whole CompTIA, I don't know if they call it the professional series anymore, or they might call it the core series, something like that. But if you're doing that CompTIA A+, Net+, and Security+ certification path, you absolutely should throw in the Linux Plus. You just really should. It's going to give you a huge leg up. Technical support, that's one of the main first entry roles you have here as a PC technician or somebody getting into the CompTIA A+ certification process. Is one of the possible first jobs is that technical support. And the cool thing about technical support, and cool thing actually about a lot of these, is that you can get experience with these skills without actually having to be in that specific industry or in that specific job role, right? We can all get experience with Linux right now. We can go download thousands of different distros of Linux, throw it up on a VM, dual boot to it, whatever it may be, and immediately get hands-on with it. Technical support's the same thing, right? You probably have computing devices around you that you've done support for, or maybe you've helped out your family. I know, when the internet was first coming on, I must have helped my grandma out with her AOL email a million times. So you've probably done technical support stuff you don't even realize. And perhaps there's a way for you to offer that as kind of maybe a pro bono service to friends and family so that you can help work on your technical expertise and build up that skill set and experience while you're, learning. Cloud computing, again, that's never going away right now. The fact that we can actually virtualize and run software and operating systems on completely different systems across the world with very little latency and lag is it's just amazing. It's not going away. More and more things are going to be moved towards the cloud. It is just cheaper. It's more economical. It's also more centralized, though, which becomes an issue. And then networking, of course, right? The Network Plus is huge if you decide to get to move away from vendor neutral certifications like the Network Plus, maybe looking at something like Cisco or Fortinet. All these companies have their own certifications. And definitely, you can make a very good living as a senior network admin, or if you move up the chain in one of those specialized certifications like the CCIE, the Cisco Certified Internet Engineer, those things command big dollars. I'm going to take a pause real quick, look over here. There's a lot of talk going on. All right, I'm going to trust in Dave to help me help me catch any questions I miss. Programming languages. So this is one that is huge these days. We constantly need people to create that software that runs these hardware systems this hardware and interconnected systems. We need Java, JavaScript, C++, Python, and then you have to also be familiar, I would say, with the programming languages, with also the type of work output that's expected with all this React and Agile and just in Scrum and just all this stuff that combines into it. So if you're good at coding, I would suggest that you stay with that and get very good at it. Python is an exceptional skill to do. Python's very unique too, because it's one of the only languages that you can kind of develop your own security tools on the fly. So for instance, take my normal job is digital forensics and incident response. That's what I was trained on, and that's blue team work. Well, there's a lot of times with blue team work where you step into an organization that has highly sensitive equipment or data or something, and you just can't bring your own laptop, can't bring your own stuff, can't bring your own tools, can't bring your own VMs, all this other stuff. And you're going to have to either have someone on your team or hopefully someone on their team to spin up tools on the fly, simple tools like network scanners and things like that, so that you can do these assessments, and you can do those quite quickly on the fly in Python. Web development, of course, web development is never going to go away. If we move to Web3, it'll be Web3 development or whatever else. Metaverse, it'll be metaverse development. Web development is never going away. We are going to constantly be processing, visiting websites through our phones, through our PCs, through our laptops and mobile devices, and buying things from those websites. I think eventually we'll get to a place where mobile apps will probably be the mass majority of online transactions. As far as like online transactions will typically be, just because of the convenience of having that cell phone next to it at all times. Of course, old curmudgeons like me will continue to use a proper web browser on a PC because I'm not a savage. But quality assurance, that's another one. QA is huge. Quality assurance and checking the checks and balances of a process, making sure that the output is expected when from the R&D aspect, and quality assurance, QA. And the cool thing about some of these that you'll notice is that they typically don't have. Some of them have nothing to do with IT at all, right? When we get down into quality assurance, I mean, you can do quality assurance in the IT industry, but you don't necessarily have to have IT hardcore background experience in order to become a QA in IT. I think that's pretty interesting. Machine learning, that's huge. Data analytics, machine learning. I think we're all pretty much aware right now how much data harvesting is going on in the world. And if you're not, well, this hopefully is a little wake-up call. But everything we do, is tracked electronically at some point or another. And the only reason that anybody would have to gather and store data is to eventually sift through it later on, sort, sift, and filter, and turn that data into information and eventually intelligence. So the fact that we're all being tracked and it's, arbitrarily stored somewhere right now isn't too concerning, but eventually all those data analytics, all those stored data silos, I should say, are going to need data analytics and ML people to sift through them. And then I'm going to stop after this next one here, user experience, right? We have a lot of times when you talk web development and website design, we have kind of two elements. We have the user interface, the UI, right? What you interact with, and then the actual user experience. So how does the flow, like for instance, Amazon, if I'm going to buy a specific product and I go to checkout and all that, what is that flow? That's what's known as the user experience. And that companies are paying huge money for user experience gurus simply because it saves them a lot of money. It costs less in support if the experience is there, if the user knows what they're getting into, when to expect the product, all that other stuff. And and like it says here, it boosts customer retention and acquisition as well. All right, I'm gonna try to catch up on some of this talk here. Since employees were hard, this is a good point by Maven. Since employees were hard to find during the last couple of years with people demanding more, companies started seeking automation, robotics, and AI to fill the gap. Those jobs are now not required. Yeah. I just saw an article the other day, or a news article about the first, it might be in Texas actually, the first fully automatic McDonald's, which I thought was a little funny because there's still people in the back making all the food. But yeah, it's definitely coming. A lot of those, and again, it's not anything against those people, right? It's just what the workforce can and can't support, what the industry can and can't support. And that particular industry, if we're talking about, fast food or something like that, in my example, is, moving rapidly towards full automation. It's just a cost saver. And, here's one thing too, I want everybody to kind of take to heart. I got to be careful how I say this. So if you're a little bit older like me, you may have grown up with the dream or been, my father did this, for instance, worked for a company for 30 years, got a nice retirement, nice pension, the Rolex on the way out, all that stuff. I'm not quite sure any of those opportunities even exist anymore, to be honest with you. I think that the days of having that long tenure at a company, especially in the IT sector, because that's actually seen as a detriment these days. But I think those days of having long tenured positions like that with a qualified pension at the end of it and a nice sunset off after 20 or 30 years, I think those are few and far between. I don't know very many companies that are doing that this day. And so what I mean by that, and to touch on what Maven put, is that you need to constantly upskill yourself. If you have any fear of your job being taken over by robots, automation, AI, any logical fear, right? Somebody can sit there and say, oh, everything's going to be taken over by AI, and they might be right. But if you have any logical fear of that, then guess what? You're probably underskilled right now. You need to upskill yourself. You need to search for that next evolution of you. What does it take? And we're going to talk about some of that here in a minute. Let's see here. Another one. Yeah, don't get a cert just for the sake of getting it. I agree with that too. Yeah, let's dig in a little bit more. Yeah, Brave browser's amazing. And honestly, I'm going to catch some flack for this lately, but Brave browser with all my little plugins that I use is actually giving me some problems. So when I actually want a hair-free browsing experience, I've been finding myself opening up Edge lately. I know that's going to break some kind of nerdy rules, that nerdy fourth wall that we have between us, but Edge has been stable for me lately. I'm not going to move fully to it, but Edge is a good secondary. I know, not me. I know. Unless you can find a government job. Yeah, I agree, Peace. And it's not just loyalty isn't a thing anymore, because companies do appreciate and reward loyalty. They really do. But the fact is that we are in, like, technology has changed everything. Every industry is rapidly evolving. And I just don't, I think when it comes to that, and when you talk, and I'm not trying to get all political here, but we are a capitalist society. And so it's what makes money is what gets promoted, what doesn't makes money gets demoted. And I think if you kind of keep that in your mind, that you're there at a job to make money for that company, and they're there to pay you for making money or for doing that job, I think it becomes a little bit easier not to take things so personally. And of course, losing your job is terrible. Absolutely. Getting a fire notice, I've had it happen to me before. It's not fun, right? Whether or not it's your own fault or just industry standards or whatever. But I think you will rest easier at night if you constantly push yourself to that next level. And I'm not saying every day study for a new cert or anything, but just don't rest on your laurels so much. It's kind of like I said earlier, I touched on, it's kind of looked as a detriment in IT these days. I had a very good friend of mine who is a staffing recruiter for a company called Hayes. And I had her review my resume, just, because I like to keep up to date on things. And even though I thought I was the absolute most current, it wasn't very current, right? It wasn't what they're actually looking for in that industry. And she says they face that a lot. So that's something we're going to touch on here shortly. Question from Dylan. Oh, more questions. Brave browser, got that. Dylan, my man Dylan. By the way, Dylan McMahon is one of the greatest human beings I've ever met in my life, excuse me. I personally know him and his father, and they are excellent, excellent human beings, and have been a big asset for me for 7 or 8 years now. So Dylan, I appreciate you showing up, buddy. Your question, what programming language are you most comfortable in? If I'm being honest, the one I'm absolutely most comfortable in is LAMP. Linux, Apache, MySQL, and PHP. Technically, it's not a programming language. There's a couple of them combined in there. But if we're talking about something that can create apps, programs, probably it's got to be Python. I'll be honest with you. I didn't pay attention at all in C# or C++ class. I hated Java. I pretty much hate object-oriented programming. But Python's fun. So I would definitely suggest Python. And the great thing about Python is there's so many free resources out there. I know Total Seminars has a learning resource for it. CompTIA does. Code Academy does. All these places have these free learning resources for Python. And I mean, I'm a big believer that if you can get quality free education, you take advantage of it as much as possible. Yeah, update those resumes, guys. And again, another tip for the resume. We're going to talk a little bit about this here in a minute. Another tip for those resumes. Let me get back onto my stop share here. Another tip for those resumes is to make multiple of them, right? Because you're not going to want, move this over here. More than likely, there's like a 99.59% chance that the specific job you're applying to is going to require separate keywords or different keyword density. And there's a large chance, you guys got to understand, when you push your resumes through these recruiters or these staffing firms, there's a very large chance that doesn't even get seen by a human. Typically what they do is they kind of run it through almost what's like a web search engine spider, right? How they used to rank websites, and it actually looks through all those keywords and tries to associate them with the keywords in the job listing, and then measures them on keyword density and how much you've actually stuffed in there, and then says, okay, this is a good client or this is a bad client. Now, obviously this is a completely terrible way to do any hiring, but it's what you're going to see 9 times out of 10 with any staffing agency. It's just how it is. It is very odd. So keep multiple copies of your resume. And we're going to talk about LinkedIn here a little bit. I actually am a fan of LinkedIn. It's the only social media that I actually suggest people attempt to set up and utilize. But LinkedIn has a way where you can save multiple different resumes, right? You can work on them, you can create them, save multiple different ones. And so that way, when you submit them for those jobs, they're actually apropos to what is being hired for. Because I've seen people submit, you know, their typical PC technician, let's say, resume to a job for security analyst or something. And you're not going to get hired that way. So yeah, you need to make sure, because keep in mind, even though there are a wide gap in jobs needed, and especially in like the information security landscape, there are still a lot of people out there competing for those jobs. So to get noticed, you have to kind of play by the rules. She likes, oh, the notepad. Everybody's looking at the desktop now, and they're probably looking at my browser. Yeah, that's fine. Whatever. On I should do this in another profile, Patricia. Thank you for reminding me of that. I use Edge to install Chrome or Firefox. Yeah, American Seas make way high. Okay. I agree, Peace. Why not get a cert for the sake of it if there is no time or commitment and consequence to doing so? And the great thing is, too, especially about today's workforce, is you can find a valid, topical, worthy certification that's being offered for free almost any day of the week. I know Google just did one. It was in December or something like that. They did a mass training on their Google cloud infrastructure stuff. I know Coding Dojo, for instance, is doing a thing with the school that I work with right now, giving free training for the CYSA and the Security Plus, as well as vouchers for qualified students. So, I mean, there's all sorts of things you can take advantage of. But as with anything else in life, you got to go out and seek out those opportunities, right? And very rarely is somebody going to come and just drop it in your lap. Google allegedly fired people. Yeah, I imagine. SharePoint's a good one, Reeves. SharePoint's huge. You know, the more customers that get, you know, it's the same thing Apple did with their ecosystem. Microsoft was trying to reel in their ecosystem too, and just get everything contained. And once everything, I mean, there's going to be a great demand for SharePoint. A lot of enterprises, a lot of companies, a lot of corporations are moving to that to be kind of like their work desk for their company. Yep. Always tailor your resume to the job. Well, so your resume can be comprehensive, but keep in mind, and I say this with pause because a lot of my friends are jack of all trades, but there's very few companies looking for jacks of all trades these days in IT. And there's very few people that have, like, let's say the aptitude of like a Mike Meyers, and he's not here, so we can kind of pick on him a little bit. But Mike is one of the sharpest, most knowledgeable, and most, like, he can recall things that I have forgotten decades ago. So I don't know, but there's not many people in the world that are your Mike Meyers that can do things like that and be those jacks of all trades. So companies are looking for people to specialize in hardware or topologies or software or whatever it may be, but they're looking for specialists. And I think if you do a generic, and I don't want to mean generic like there's anything wrong with the value of it, but if you just do a broad strokes approach to it, I don't think you're going to get much traction on that resume. Yes, next Cyber Now Labs info session. Thank you, Dave. Coming up Saturday, February 11th. So that's this Saturday. Fantastic. If you have a chance and you can pull it off, definitely join that training. I sat in for some of those and they are fantastic. Also this Saturday, if anybody's interested, there is the Trace Labs OS Int person search, people search, I think they call it, global search, something like that. But basically what it is, and I'm acting as a judge in this capacity, but they give you a VM, they give you all this data on people, missing or exploited people they're looking for, and then they have you use simple OS, open source intelligence techniques, basically Googling, web searching, trying to find information on them online, and then we submit that to authorities and hopefully find or save some people. So that's also going on Saturday for about 4 hours. That'll be a good cause as well. Same thing in the trade, specialties where the money is at. You were correct. On my judgment event. That's right. See the info. Yes, and this Monday, Kyle Wiens, co-founder of iFixit's going to be here. I'm going to be here. Well, I'm going to be watching. I haven't been invited to the show yet, but that's going to be a fantastic one to catch. And also on Wednesday, we have, I believe, a Cyber Now Labs. Why do I keep messing that up? Graduate coming on Wednesday. Isn't that correct, Dave? I believe it is. He'll link it here in a minute. Okay. So, this is again, I'm not going to go through all these because I think that will actually be take a lot of time. But if you take a look at some of these, many of them are probably things that you might have already had. Like I wanted to get down to 21 and 22. Look at what these IT skills that CompTIA is thinking that we need to learn. Professional skills and business skills. What do those equate to? Most of those are soft skills, right? Most of those are soft skills. So again, we continue this discussion where I see it a lot in my workforce, my students that go out there. The number one thing that all these companies on advisory boards and everything else are looking for is people like you with soft skills. They figure they can train anybody if you're technically minded, if you have that problem-solving methodology in your head, if you can reverse engineer a problem to find a solution, they figure they could train you on anything, except for how to interact with humans, and how to be a good team player and all that other stuff. And so these are actual real skills that you probably already possess that are highly valued in IT. Michael Liebert, thank you. I couldn't remember his name. Yeah, that's going to be an awesome one too. So if you have a chance next week, definitely catch both shows on Monday and Wednesday. Again, the owner of iFixit will be here on Monday, or excuse me, the co-founder of iFixit will be here on Monday. And Michael Liebert, a Cyber Now Labs graduate, will be here on Wednesday. And it's going to be great to pick both their brains. So yeah, Reeves, I have hired people for the soft skills. Absolutely. Okay. So take a look at this. This is at CompTIA's on their blog. It's one of their most recent articles, so you'll be able to see it. But just take a look at some of those and keep them in mind as you go forward. A lot of you are still just beginning your IT career path. And so you may not be able to say, oh, I fit into a data scientist, right, role, or I fit into a data analysis role, or I fit into an InfoSec role, that kind of thing. But just keep these positions in mind as you look for your first position or your next position in IT. And so we come to a point now where we talk about, well, either your first time in IT, looking to get your first job, either you're in a certain sector in IT and you want a lateral move to another sector in IT, or perhaps you come from a completely different industry and you want to get into IT. And I get this question all the time, and I've slowly been kind of compiling a list of things that help me. And so oh, you're welcome. No problem, Matt. How did you know I was in the military? Is it somewhere? I thought maybe it was, up here. Okay. Yeah, so the first thing I got to say to anybody that's seeking a job in IT, if you have another job, okay, don't quit it. Do not quit it yet. Don't quit it yet. And I say that because one of the worst feelings in the world is to quit a job and not be able to get another one. And if you have a job that's paying, even if it doesn't pay you what you feel you deserve right now, if it's not in the industry you feel you want to be in right now, none of that matters. Keep that job until you find another one. I have, and I hope he isn't listening to this, but my best friend is an absolute brilliant security architect. I mean, he's worked for BP, he's worked for WebSense, he's worked for Fortinet, he does security consulting all over the world. He actually quit his job in February of 2020, was going to take a few weeks off or a few months off, travel, and then get another one. And we all know what happened in March of 2020. So he spent pretty much the entirety of 2020 almost unemployed, which was terrible for him. So now my first thing before we even get started is if you already have a role, don't quit it. Don't quit your current job and say, all right, I'm going to go land an IT one, because it's a little more involved than that. Now, I have not done any data certs yet. Blue Lantern, I have not. I plan on doing a GIAC cloud certification here coming up in April or May, I believe it is, in Orlando. I can't remember. And then I think my next path that I'm going to go into is ICS, industrial control systems, SCADA security, nuclear security, things like that. My PhD right now that I'm doing is in space cybersecurity, and I kind of find myself being pulled to that. I'm really enamored with it. Especially we see like a lot of attacks happening on critical infrastructure lately. I don't know if you guys have been paying attention to like people literally shooting power substations with bullets and taking them out. But that's a real thing. That's, we have to harden these systems, both physically and logically. We have to harden these systems so that, they're not such easy targets for attack in the future. Okay, so we have that first thing. You're going to make a jump into IT. First thing, don't quit your current job. If you have a job, just keep it. Just keep it for as long as you can until you get that next job in IT. Never quit one job until you have another offer. That's my personal opinion. Step one, have a backup plan. Okay. If you move in IT and it does not work out for you, you don't like it, you don't like the pace. A lot of early IT jobs are on-call jobs. They might be 24/7, rotating help desk, rotating shift, whatever it may be. You may not like that. You may not like that. I know I probably wouldn't like it if I went to a third shift rotating call center right now, right? I'm used to a different type of work structure. So always have a backup plan. Whereas if you try this and you don't like it, that you don't just fall flat. You have something you can go back to, and this can be accomplished in a couple different ways. Let's say you are currently working in IT and want a lateral move to another sector of IT. There's a pretty big chance that you probably have access to one of those teams working in that capacity. If you work for a company, for instance, and you're, I don't know, in project management, or you're doing systems admin stuff and you want to move over to the InfoSec side of things, or do, predictive cyber threat analysis, things like that, your company probably has like a cybersecurity team or, some sort of blue-red team type division where you can shadow them. You can probably, maybe go in your off time and work with them and just start to get that feel for how that job will be. And if you can't do that, if you're not lat moving and you don't have access to those resources, what I want you to do is just sit back for a minute and envision yourself at your ideal IT job. What are you doing? It's that simple. If you can picture yourself, what you do, what you think will bring you happiness, I can almost guarantee that as you improve along the way, as you evolve as a person in IT, as a technician, that you're going to figure out exactly what job that is that will fit that vision of yours. So I would definitely suggest those first two steps: backup plan, envision yourself in the role. What do you want to be doing? What do you see yourself doing? Where do you see yourself doing it at? There's a lot of, and I'm going to sound old when I say this, there's a lot of hype and hyperbole around remote work right now. I think eventually that pendulum will swing back the other way, excuse me. I know it's cheaper for businesses, but also businesses like to manage their people, and it's a lot harder to do that remotely than it is having them come all into one area. So I think remote's here to stay for a lot of positions, but there's also going to be a chance to get, there's going to be plenty of chances to actually report to an office building or report to a corporation, whatever it may be. Okay, so we've got a backup plan. We've kind of envisioned what our ideal role would be, right? Like, what do we want to do? Where do we want to be doing it? All that stuff. What kind of technology or hardware, software we want to be working with. What I want you to do then is go out and look at potential jobs. First of all, you should have a LinkedIn right now. If you don't have a LinkedIn right now, you need to get one. Get a LinkedIn, get it set up, be honest with your skills and what you're learning and all those certifications. And if you're taking college courses, put all that stuff in there, all that experience, even stuff that you think is not applicable to your future IT career. Put everything in there. Never shortchange yourself for now. Put all that in your LinkedIn profile. You can even create a quick little resume from LinkedIn too, from your profile. But I think it's just click on the hamburger icon actually and print it out that way. But get a LinkedIn set up. Once you get a LinkedIn set up, start looking for job listings. But I don't want you to apply yet. Do not apply yet. Look at these job listings, okay? Look at what they want. Specifically what they're seeking, right? If they say in the blurb, hey, we're seeking a dedicated information security professional, don't go, I'm dedicated. I'm a professional. This job's for me. Read the skills they need. You'll set yourself up for far less disappointment. Read those skills. Make sure you have some of them before you apply. But again, we're not applying yet. We're just getting a feel for what kind of jobs are out there. And we're doing that because my tip number 4 is to do a SWOT analysis on yourself. And if you're a business person or, any CPA, any kind of accounting, anything like that, you've heard of the SWOT analysis. It's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And honestly, what that boils down to is just perform some introspection. You've seen, where you currently are. You've seen where you'd like to go by looking at those jobs, right, that you haven't applied for yet. So let's do a SWOT analysis on ourselves and say, okay, what are my strengths to get that job? What are the weaknesses, right? Are there opportunities or threats to me getting that position that I want, or those ideal positions that I want? And I think that's probably one of the most key things here too, is that introspection. We have we have a tendency as human beings to be slightly high and mighty on ourselves sometimes, especially in today's day and age of social media. It seems like everybody's there to show off, right? It seems to me anyways. But if you do that SWOT analysis and you perform that introspection, you're going to be able to, know confidently within yourself that, hey, this is what I have, this is what I need, this is how I get there. And so again, introspection, SWOT analysis. My next step is you need to meet that skills gap. You're going to find a skills gap no matter what. I have students right now sitting in this chat right now with us that are in my college courses that know, because I tell them they're going to face a skills gap when they get out. There's just the technology and the industry just moves so rapidly that no matter what you do, even with a certification, a brand new up-to-date certification, there's going to be a gap of knowledge and skills that you need to bridge probably before entering the workforce. And, you can do a lot of that with extra training, those additional certifications we talk about, your A+, your Net+, Security+, all that stuff. Those help you bridge those skill gaps. And, that's a real thing, because I deal with a lot of students, I don't know, probably 1,400 students a year. And the vast majority of them think that their job is over once they get that paper. But what does that paper really mean? What does that degree really mean? It really just means, congratulations, you've met this milestone, go enjoy your life, go start your life. And guess what? That paper you're getting, there's probably dozens or hundreds around you getting the exact same paper. So you need to increase your skills and knowledge gap so that you set yourself above the competition. All those peers around you in your college classes and your training, those are people that are going to be vying for those same jobs as you. And I think it's very important and healthy to recognize that so that you can try to set yourself above your peers. I think then once you've reached that point, you've bridged a skills gap, I think you should then go and start really fixing up your LinkedIn, really do a killer resume. This may be a part where you may need to pay somebody if crafting a resume, if typography and written copy just isn't your thing. It may be worth paying someone, but there are a plethora of institutions that do this for free. You can pretty much go to any community college and they'll have, and just, say, hi, I'm an aspiring student. I'd like to get some help with my resume. And there are tons of centers that are set up to help you with that. There's probably a dozen free or more free resources online where you can do. But it may be one of those things you want to pay for to get your first one in. So you can have an expert actually create your first resume and say, okay, I know this is what's expected of a top tier resume. Now I can take all these other skills, these other keyword skills that I need to stuff in there for the algorithms to recognize me and create my separate resumes based on that. But crafting a killer resume is important. It is vitally important. You have to remember that silly little CV, right? That silly little piece of paper or Word doc or PDF that you submit is all that person who may potentially be hiring you has to go on. They don't know you. They haven't visited your LinkedIn before. They're not friends on social media. They don't know you. That is your best foot forward, and it is your first impression. So you really need to have a killer resume. I also recommend, and this is kind of the old timer in me, I should say, doing a cover letter with each position. I know sites like LinkedIn, which I just recommended, make it very easy to apply for things. They actually have a thing called Easy Apply where you do a couple of clicks and you submit your pre-formatted resume to a company. But if a company has an opportunity or offers you an opportunity to submit a cover sheet, I strongly suggest you do. It's just one little thing that'll separate you from everyone else, and it shows an attention to detail for that specific position. Hey, my name is Steve. I feel like I'd be a good fit for this position because blah. I am interested to work here because blah. And it's very simple. Your cover letter doesn't need to be more than a paragraph long, couple sentences, but it shows that you gave specific consideration to that position. And I think those go a long way, those cover letters, little things like that. And I think once we're at this point now, you've bridged your skills gap, you've done the SWOT analysis and introspection in yourself, you've got that killer resume. I think now you should probably go back and look at those jobs that you saved, the ones you originally, did that SWOT analysis on, and maybe start applying for some of those now, because you're going to be much more aware of which ones are applicable to you, which ones you actually have a chance at landing, and which ones, you should just let go. And that's about it. I think that pretty much covers it as far as breaking into it. Now, my suggestions change from time to time, depending on, again, if you're moving within the industry, if you're moving from another industry, if you're already in the workforce and doing some sort of other job that isn't IT, I guarantee you have marketable skills in an IT position. You do. Again, we go back and look at the professional skills on the CompTIA site and the business skills and some of these things that aren't actual hard technical skills. They're all soft skills. If you have those soft skills and you feel like you can learn these topologies and hardwares and softwares and concepts, I think the transition to IT will be actually quite easy for you. Soft skills are the #1 detriment I see to most people. So I think that's pretty much it. I'd also recommend probably networking a lot. I know a lot of us, especially the last couple of years, we've all been kind of relegated to a home life, living, vicariously online. But start networking and start networking on day one too. Day one, class one, if you're going into college campus or you're going to a college program, I would be making friends and networking with everybody around me. Those, especially if you're going to a local college, because guess what? Those same people are have a big chance of either being people that you might end up working with, or they might be hiring you for a job in the future, or writing you a killer recommendation letter to get in grad school. But they're your local populace of people. So I would recommend networking from day one. Network in person, network online. Yeah, and take advantage of all those free training resources. So I think I've just talked for like 20 minutes straight. So let's catch up on some questions here. Oh, you saw my LinkedIn. Okay, Matt. Thank you, bud. Live like today's your last day. Learn like you'll live forever. I like that. I like that. Xerxis. Oh my God, that's gonna be hard for me to say. 18 years in nuclear security. Okay, so you're coming out of the field that I think would be fun to go into. That's interesting. I'd like to talk to you on Discord. Are you on the Discord? Yeah, Blue Lantern. I think that's an excellent idea. I think what we need to do is probably the next show that I'm allowed to host or co-host with Mike. Why don't we make it about setting up a LinkedIn profile, creating a professional profile, reaching out and creating a network and getting those endorsements and then creating your resume from that and submitting for jobs. We should do that as a topic. I do like that. Ooh, 500 apps and resumes is rough. But again, if that person sent 500 apps and resumes, they're probably just blasting them out at any job that has, whatever specific little phrase he or she's looking for in there. Do we even need a profile, or is a resume and LinkedIn enough? What do you mean profile, Blue Lantern? Yeah, that's tough too. Xerxis. I'm going to get your name right eventually. That is another consideration too. A lot of you, if you're transitioning from another industry into IT or trying to get more into the IT industry, and you have those ancillary responsibilities, family, children, soccer games, all that stuff that comes with it, that can definitely throw a wrench in things too. And that can limit where and what you can study as well. Disneyland has a $40 an hour paid internship for college students for cybersecurity. That's cool. I've noticed a lot of companies do that. We work with a company called DICOM, who I believe is out of like Jupiter down south here. But they do this program called the 2020 program with our kids, and we love it. They do 20 hours of school, like they have to come to class and at least do three courses per semester, and then they do 20 hours of work. And DICOM takes care of them and mentors them and helps facilitate both, and they actually get paid for the 20 hours of work. It's a very good program. So I see a lot more large companies going towards that direct to hire type stuff. Hey, if you're a good person and you've got good soft skills, we'll bring you in and we'll train you. Hey, Stephen Metcalf. I listen to these live streams, but never get to tune in live. I started my first help desk job a week ago and am loving it. I come from a physical labor background. Those jobs are out. That's fantastic, Stephen. Congratulations, bud. If you haven't yet, jump into our Discord, and I'd love to talk to you about what kind of things you're like. What is your experience in that first week of that help desk job? It's been ages since I've been in one, so I'd love to hear what's the same, what's changed. Plus, it would help share your experiences here with those that are looking to get their foot in the IT industry as well. I can see Jupiter. Yeah, not that Jupiter, Dave. Not that Jupiter. Socks, yeah. Cybersecurity analyst spots, yeah. Those are great paying positions right now. Hard to find though. Hard to find. All right. So we've only got 10 minutes left. Yeah, the unofficial Total Seminars one. Yeah, please. If you're already there, I don't have any other Discords as far as with Total Seminars or anything like that. But if you're already there, I would love to talk to you about your experiences with trying to find a job, Xerxis in your case, or Steven, I'd love to talk to you about how your entry into the PC help desk world has gone. I don't really have one of my own. You can just use Total Seminars. I don't manage my own Discord server. I just don't want that responsibility. So I belong to a couple other ones but they're mostly all either crypto related or cryptocurrency related or projects that I'm working on. So I don't have my own. All right, well, we've got about 10 minutes left. I apologize for talking your ear off for about 45 of these last 50 minutes. Yeah, I'm sure Dave will put a link to the unofficial Total Seminars Discord in the chat for everybody that wants to join. So do I have any questions? Is there anything out there that I haven't covered as far as finding a job in IT, making that transition? What sort of skills are out there? Is there anything that's really calling to you right now that you need answered? I am here and available. There you go. There's the unofficial Total Seminars Discord server invitation. And please, we'd love to have you in there. There's so many brilliant, I know it sounds silly to say, but there's so many brilliant people in that Discord that it is a little intimidating to go there sometime. But come join me, come talk to these people. There's a lot of different experiences from a lot of different industries. Dave still asks me to get off his lawn Blue Lantern, so I don't know what we can do about that, buddy. When you solve that riddle, you let me know. Do you think going into grad school with IT is a smart move? Is it worth it? I have cousins that have their BS and got a job. Yeah, it depends. Some IT jobs, personally, I got my graduate degree because I was falling in love with teaching. I really like that interaction with the student, and they just have no idea what I'm talking about. And then one minute that light bulb clicks and they're like, I get it now. That to me is like one of the most rewarding feelings in this world. So I pretty much only got my graduate degree, and I only got my graduate degree to get into teaching, to be honest with you. And I'm only pursuing my PhD just to be the first. Well, number one, it's a cool topic that I'm doing, but I want to beat my mom to her PhD. So that's kind of why I'm doing that. But I can't say, if it's a smart move or not. I think more education is always a smart move, but you have to get to a point, if you're graduating with your undergrad, you got your bachelor's, I would take a strong look at the job market that you plan on entering, not just IT in general, but that specific sector of what you think is pulling to, where you're going to apply to. And I would look to see if it needs that kind of education. Is it requiring a graduate degree, or would you be better served just taking that undergrad degree and adding certs on top of it? It really just depends on the position in that case. But I like learning. I know that might seem a little weird. I think becoming a lifelong learner is a key to longevity in your mind. I think that's helped me keep sharp. I learn something new, and I'm not just talking about, go on Reddit and read something new every day. I mean, I actually read stuff, learn stuff, try exercises, set up labs, do demos, all that stuff every single day to try to learn something. And I think you do that. That is a huge aspect of success going forward. But yeah, there's money everywhere, Peace. You got to figure out what you're chasing in life. If you're chasing the dollar, which is fine. Many people do and are happy that way. Are you chasing fulfillment in some other way? Are you chasing being the pinnacle at your job, which is what I often try to chase? But yeah. Do network engineers need to know how to code? And if so, what language? Need to know how to code. So I guess by network engineers, are you talking about people that are administering the network or people that are actually designing? Because you remember, all these things are pre-set up switches, routers, things like that. You need to quantify what you mean by engineering for me. Because if you're talking about people that are actually engineering the software, the hardware, stuff like that, that runs the networks, then yes, absolutely. If you're talking about people that are just administering them, you know, like your Cisco guys, your Fortinet guys, that's pretty much, I mean, you're going to be doing some scripting via like the Cisco iOS command line and stuff like that, but you're not going to be really doing coding or programming, so to speak. Yes, lots of brilliant folks on Discord. And Dave is one of the most humble, least braggadocious people that I've ever met in my life, but he is absolutely brilliant as well. He won't tell you that, though. Hey, Patricia. Yeah, we play. Yep, no kid gloves on the Discord. You tell him, tell the wit. What do you mean, Patricia? That you love technology, but you're always 2 steps behind. I'd like to tackle that on our last couple minutes here. Can you explain? By the way, Dave, while you're here typing, have you figured out what's replacing drama yet? I haven't seen an update if we have. Kind of missing the Friday night hangout. Questions are dying down. No, don't leave me yet. Don't leave me yet. Adramata? Adramata. Oh, I read that completely wrong. Adramata? Adramata. I love that, Dave. I love your anagrams. Man, I'm not working in IT. I could just never make a go. Oh, I wouldn't discount yourself, Patricia. I've seen what you put on those forums on the Discord and stuff. You're definitely bright. Though I would like to, maybe if you want to touch base on the Discord away from the live stream, I'd be happy to help you figure out what you're terrible with at Help Desk, because I don't think you are terrible. And maybe how you can help improve. I miss Fridays with Dave as well, Blue. Dave's a great guy, man. Dave and Mike are just, I don't even know how to put it. Like if there was a Mount Rushmore of cool IT guys that know a ton and always like just completely obliterate you with their knowledge, Mike and Dave's face should be on top of that. Ah, gotcha. Well, that's good though, Patricia, because you're using your current experience to get experience in another role in IT. You never know. That could be a nice little lateral move for you. 2 peas in a pod. You're right. All right, guys. Well, we are coming up on 2057. Excuse me, 8:57 p.m. Actually, you know what? 2057. You should be learning UTC. You should be using UTC time and learning military time. Sorry. 2057. Not much more to say here. I have a ton more I can talk about on this subject, but we're limited on time. Keep in mind that Monday, this coming Monday, the co-founder of iFixit will be on live with Mike. I'll be in the chat. I'm not on the call. And then next Wednesday, we actually have Michael Liebert, too, from one of the recent graduates of the Cyber Now Labs program, which is an absolutely really cool program that he's going to talk about everything he did there and some of the training and like the support, because again, a big part of the endeavors like Cyber Now Labs is the support. It's not just here's training and go take it and, you know, good luck to you and, you know, off you go. It's support from day one to, you know, for the rest of your life. It's a very cool program. It's very efficient, it's structured very well. So I'm interested to hear from a student standpoint on that topic on Wednesday. So, oh, not next Wednesday. I'm sorry. The following Wednesday, February 22nd. But this coming Monday is the co-founder of iFixit. Yeah, we can just all go back to epoch time, Dave, and talk about how long, and just count seconds from January 1st, 1970. Universal time coordinate, Blue Lantern. All right, guys. Have a great week. Have a great weekend. Listen, if you need to reach out to me, StephenN@TotalSem.com. I'm on the unofficial Discord as well. I think Udemy right now has mine and Mike's A+ series pretty cheap. I think it was like when I looked on it, it was under 20 bucks. So if you're interested in doing that CompTIA A+ training, I definitely would grab those videos. Also, Total Seminars has this thing called Total Hub with these sims and total testers and all this cool stuff you can get for an amazingly affordable price. I definitely suggest you look into it. Keep in mind, you never want to plant all your seeds in one bed, meaning take multiple different forms of training. You know, A+ through Udemy, do some YouTube playlist, you know, do these total sims and total testers and all this other stuff that's available for you that's out there. Those are all going to help better prepare you for the certification. And that goes true for any certification. But Stephen N at TotalSem.com, hub.TotalSem.com as well. If you're looking for all those total testers and total sim stuff, that is really, really good stuff. But that's it. I'm out of here, everybody. It is 2100. Have a wonderful week. Go out into the world and do great things, and I'll see you soon. And this is the part where I stare awkwardly